And now joining us over the phone line is Dr. Kgothatso Shai, Head of Department and Senior Lecturer, Political Science, University of Limpopo. A very warm welcome to you and thank you so much for your time. I just want us to talk about the security and peace that is currently in Zimbabwe. How do you think that is panning out so far?
Good evening to you and those of your followers watching from home. I must say that the unfolding security situation in Zimbabwe, it's really quite frightening because we have seen in the past few days whereby there was an active involvement of the military to try to quell the protest by the members of the opposition. But that being said, I must say there is nothing much that the MDC and other opposition forces can do to really reverse the situation within the context of the recent electoral outcome for two main reasons. One, the party that has emerged victorious in Zimbabwe in the recent elections, ZANU-PF, have got a lot of sympathy from most of the governments within the Southern African region and the African continent as a whole. And therefore, the ZANU-PF-led government and the incumbent president stand a better chance of tapping into the liberation solidarity that exists between ZANU-PF and other liberation movements that are in government within the SADC region. But also, secondly, it has been very much clear that the state security apparatus also is biased in favor of the opposition, contrary to the theoretical postulations of them being professional and all that. We know that the military has been at the forefront in terms of ushering Mnangagwa as the president of Zimbabwe, who succeeded Robert Mugabe. So we're likely to foresee a situation whereby state security institutions continue to be used to entrench the ZANU-PF rule and the Mnangagwa presidency.
Now, we know that Mnangagwa will be inaugurated on the 12th of this month, which is on Sunday. But at the same time, we have the MDC heading to court to challenge the election results. What scenarios should we expect in this case? From
where I'm sitting, my observation will be that the chances of success in terms of the electoral challenge by the MDC and the opposition alliance as a whole are very, very much slim, because unlike matured democracies or stable democracies such as South Africa, where we've got a stable judiciary that is independent from the government influence and from the influence of the ruling party, we cannot say the same about Zimbabwe, because it is very clear that the judiciary in Zimbabwe, and in as much as the Electoral Commission as well, it is not as independent from the ruling party and also from the ZANU-PF government as one would wish. So we are not likely to see a situation where the court may decide against the proclamation that has been made by the Zimbabwe Electoral Commission in terms of declaring both the ZANU-PF and Mnangagwa as the victors of the recent elections in the country.
And now, with all of this, where does it put Zimbabwe in the eyes of the international community?
Really, I think the outcome of the recent elections really puts Zimbabwe at what one can term the crossroad. I must say first is that despite all the imperfections that have characterized the phase of the counting and the announcement of the ultimate result, the reality of the issue here is that the voting process on its own, it has been free of violence. It has been free of intimidation. And that in itself lends a little bit of credibility in terms of the ultimate outcome of these elections. So I must say that, comparatively speaking, when one looks at the current edition of elections in Zimbabwe compared to the past 3-4 cycles of elections in that country since the year 2000, it will be very much safe for one to say that Zimbabwe is getting somewhere. We need to understand that democracies or democratic systems, even any political system, by their very own nature, they are not perfect. So this is one step towards the full democratization of Zimbabwe. One must understand that democracy on its own is not an end, but it's a means towards an end. So one will hope that as the country progresses in the next coming 5 years, the next coming 10 years, we're likely to see an improvement within the context of the political governance of the country. I must say that there is at least a certain acceptable level of political tolerance, between the major political players in the country as opposed to the past. And more interestingly, even before Mnangagwa, the incumbent, was confirmed as the victor, and even after, he has since extended an olive branch towards the opposition. He has opened up, he has demonstrated the readiness to work with the members of the opposition parties. He has demonstrated the willingness to also work with opposition political forces. That on its own, it puts him in a limelight in the eyes of the international community. But that being said, it does not necessarily rule out also the fact that there are blemishes in terms of the counting process and also the circumstances that led to the final announcement of the presidential elections in particular.
And we know that most of the time when we look at countries across the continent, and if any country is going through some kind of war, it seems as if most of the time the neighboring countries are affected. Now, looking at this case, with how Zimbabwe looked into the elections and how that panned out, will this affect any of the neighboring countries?
I must say that indeed it's true that the current security situation in Zimbabwe, it is frightening, and it is also true that the political and economic instabilities in the past in Zimbabwe have had spillover effects towards Zimbabwe's neighboring countries, such as your South Africa and Botswana. I'm told there are claims of that South Africa, for instance, have got approximately 2 million Zimbabweans who are here in our country as economic migrants. But I must be saying that as analysts, as political analysts, as media, we need to be very, very much careful of being unnecessarily sensationalist or blowing certain situations out of proportion. What I'm trying to say is that Zimbabwe have seen the West in the past, and this is better compared to what happens in the past. And I can tell you that the reaction of the military, as soon as the members of the opposition MDC tried to protest even before the outcome of the presidential elections we announced, sent a clear message to all Zimbabweans, to everyone in the African continent and also the international community, to say the Zimbabwean military is not ready to have any other alternative ruling political party in Zimbabwe except the ZANU-PF. And the Zimbabwean military is also ready to crush and even to an extent of killing anybody who seems to want to reverse the liberation gains that have been achieved by the ZANU-PF. So I'm tempted to believe that the message is now clear in the collective psyche of the Zimbabweans. They are living in a state of fear. The very few people that are still having the audacity or even the energy to protest in cause, to protest in the urban areas, I think they are still suffering from denial. But with time, they will come to terms with the reality that they've lost the elections. They need to go on to the drawing board and plan for the next elections. Elections, at any rate, is about when you enter into a race, electoral race, it's either you're going to win or you are going to lose. And at any rate, the military, the state security apparatus in that particular country has proven that they will not allow anybody to render Zimbabwe ungovernable. And that has been very, very much clear. And I will not want to believe that the people of Zimbabwe are ready to sacrifice more blood and more lives than the 3-4 people that we've seen in the past. So we're talking about Zimbabwe has entered into an era of the politics of fear and the fear of politics.
All right,
so the fear will continue to be a key denominator in terms of how the members of the opposition and the opposition party leaders or opposition party as well will react and position themselves.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Kgothatso Shai, for that update. That is Dr. Kgothatso, the head of department and senior lecturer at Political Science, University of Limpopo. Just giving us more insight, as we know that Mnangagwa will be inaugurated on the 12th of August, and we know that it's this Sunday. But at the same time, we have the MDC heading to court to challenge the election results.